Alice Cooper's Welcome to My Nightmare turns 50 years old this month, and I've been wanting to do some of these album anniversary look backs, and I figured what better way to start than with one of my all-time favorite artists, Alice Cooper. So let's take a look at Welcome to My Nightmare.
These words he speaks are true.
Now, Welcome to My Nightmare was released in March of 1975. It's Alice Cooper's first solo album. After having disbanded the Alice Cooper group in 1974, he went out and wanted to do a more theatrical production. You know, there's conflicting stories about why exactly the band broke up, but they didn't. There wasn't any animosity there, so that was cool. They worked together again, years later. But Welcome to My Nightmare was the first one with Alice alone, and for his band, producer Bob Ezrin, who had obviously worked on the other Alice Cooper group stuff, went out and got Lou Reed's band. So basically, you had Steve Hunter and Dick Wagner and Prakash John on bass and Whitey Glenn on drums. But then you also had Tony Levin on bass. He played on Only Women Bleed and the title track Welcome to My Nightmare. You know Tony Levin. He's the dude that plays bass with the sticks on his fingers, all crazy like. Yeah, he's on this album too. So that's pretty cool. Now for me, I have always loved this album. I got introduced to Alice at a very young age. In fact, I don't ever remember not liking Alice. It goes that far back. And one of the very first records I ever got was Alice Cooper's Zipper Catches Skin. It was supposed to be Welcome to My Nightmare. I asked my brother, who was going to the big record store over in the capital city, I asked him to pick up Welcome to My Nightmare for me. But he said they didn't have it, so he brought me Zipper Catches Skin. And I was disappointed. But, looking back, I realized that Zipper Catches Skin was probably a much harder album to find, and I still love it to this day. But it was no Welcome to My Nightmare. The tracks from this album are constantly in a set list. In fact, I think I have heard 10 of the 11 songs off of this album live, which is a pretty high percentage, considering I didn't start seeing Alice live until 21 years later. It was 1996 when I saw him for the first time. But I've heard all of these songs live except for Some Folks, right? So come on, Alice, you got to throw Some Folks in for me so I can complete the album. But I remember one time back, I was I don't know if I was like early teens or something like that, but I was home alone, and it was night, or it was getting to be night, and the trilogy, Years Ago, Stephen, and The Awakening, it's all creepy and stuff, right? And there's one part of I believe Stephen where there's some off-time whistling, and I'm sitting there, I don't know if I was on the computer or what I was doing something and listening to it, and off-time whistling, and I knew it was there, but it still freaked me out. It made me think that there was somebody in the house with me. So that's just something I think about all the time when I hear those songs. And the disco-y Broadway opening track, Welcome to My Nightmare, is just such an iconic track. I hate to use the word iconic, but for Alice Cooper, it is iconic. I mean, Welcome to My Nightmare. He welcomes you in, and then at the end, he escapes. So it's like a perfect little story. And, it's the 50th anniversary, right? Now would be a good time to do a Welcome to My Nightmare revival tour, if you will. Bring it back to, like, the live show from the Welcome to My Nightmare tour. Because it was, the magic screen was the big effect used on that tour. He didn't use the guillotine or the gallows or anything like that. And I've seen him do all of those. The magic screen is the one thing I have never seen him do. He hasn't done it since 1991, and I missed him on the Hey Stupid tour. So Alice, you got to bring back the magic screen. If you don't know, it's basically a projection screen that comes down in front of the performers, and then there's images projected on the screen, like a video, and then Alice and the dancers and everybody come running out through the screen. It's so choreographed that you got to be on it, but as it hits the screen, they pop out the front, and it's just such a cool effect that I've always wanted to see, and I've always wanted to bring it back. And I just wonder how cool it could be, in 2025 with the technology that we have now. How cool would that be? I think it would be pretty damn awesome. So Alice, I know you're listening, because I know you subscribe to me, because, come on, you're one of those 95 people, and I appreciate it. But no, I really do want to see that at least one point. But now, for the album itself, I don't think there's any I think all of the songs on here stand up. I mean, the production on it is it's so cinematic. I mean, you could tell that it was made for, some it's not, there's not a flat production on it. It's just so vibrant, and so it sounds so good. I went back last year and listened to every Alice album so I could do my Alice Cooper ranking. There's a nice little handy link there for you. So I could rank all the albums. And when I listened to this album, even though I've heard it for the last 30, 40 years, it still sounded just so solid, so good, because I haven't listened to it in quite a while. So I was just going on memory, but then as you're listening to it, Ezrin did a hell of a job on this album making it sound as good as it does. I mean, it's just, it's hard to explain other than saying it sounds cinematic. So I don't know. What have you what do you think of this album? When was the last time you listened to Welcome to My Nightmare in its entirety? Just, start to finish, just listen to the whole story. The whole story doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense, but then when do nightmares make sense? And I've always loved Escape, even though it's a rewrite of what is it, was it the Hollywood Stars that did their version of Escape? Alice's is better. If you've ever heard the original version, Alice's is definitely better, and it's not just nostalgia talking. It's just sounds better, and it's just better, right? But Only Women Bleed was the big hit single, and I think it reached. Hang on, I got my notes here. Let me look at my notes for this because I don't want to mislead you. Welcome to My Nightmare hit number 12 on the Billboard charts, while the title track hit number 45. So it wasn't really like they weren't huge hits. I mean, Only Women Bleed was, but of course it was retitled Only Women because they didn't want it Only Women Bleed, because you know what people would think. And of course that was the intention. And I think Welcome to My Nightmare hit like number 5 on the charts, I believe, in America. So it was his biggest hit up until Trash came out in 1989, and that kind of brought him back. But let's not get into Trash, because on a video, I'll do a video sometime where I talk about the albums I don't like by the artists I love. I think that'll be a good one coming up. But Trash will be on that. So there's a little heads up. It's awesome, and I love, anytime Vincent Price shows up on one of these albums, I love old horror movies. I love Vincent Price. I love Alice Cooper. And when Vincent Price shows up, for The Black Widow, it kind of makes it. It kind of makes it. In fact, he even still uses a clip of Vincent Price during his live shows to introduce the Nightmare segment of the show, which is cool. And apparently, this other guy heard that and decided to get Vincent Price for his album, and that's how Vincent Price ended up on Thriller. Crazy, right? So you had him on Welcome to My Nightmare, then you had him on Thriller, and then was it actually him on Number of the Beast, or just somebody that sounds like him? I think it was just somebody that sounds like him, but I could be wrong there. But yeah, anytime Vincent Price or a Vincent Price-like voice shows up, I love it. I love it. And it started here with me. Just the theatricalness, the horror elements. The Years Ago Stephen and the Awakening are just the centerpiece of the album, and it's just awesome. I mean, I don't know how else to explain it. It's just, I love it. And it's great because my daughter heard Stephen playing somewhere. I mean, obviously it was here, but she heard it playing, and then she fell in love with the song. So it's funny to see like this little girl that loves Stephen and singing along with it and everything else, singing along to The Awakening. I'm like, okay, well, that's parenting done right. But anyway, what do you think of Alice Cooper's Welcome to My Nightmare? Do you want to see the magic screen make a return? Somebody get the word out to Alice that bring it back. And also, while we're at it, stuff we want Alice to bring back. Bring back the black. Black on the mouth. I don't know why he decided to start painting his lips red, and he took away the iconic, now that is an iconic part of the look. You got the eye makeup, but then you also have, and he took that away, and I can't stand it. Come on, Alice, bring that back too. Anyway, don't forget, remember, this is YouTube after all. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Let me know. What do you think of Alice Cooper? Specifically, what do you think of Welcome to My Nightmare? And tell them you want the magic screen back. I'll see you next time. Happy 50th birthday to Welcome to My Nightmare. Y'all stay fresh, cheese bags.